Is Los Angeles really a chaotic war zone now? A lot of my friends in China are asking. I'm currently in LA and want to share what's really happening over the past few days. Yes, things are messy to some extent, but not affecting most people's daily lives. I can't even feel anything unusual at all. First of all, many may not be familiar with how spread out LA is. It's not a city in the traditional Chinese sense. Instead, it's a metropolitan area made up of dozens of smaller cities, with an overall area similar to Chengdu. The official name is LA County, and I think the accurate translation in Chinese would be Jun, which includes many different towns and municipalities. LA is a typical example of the American-style urban sprawler, where most people live spread out in suburbs. The downtown area is relatively empty, old, hollow, and sometimes haunting. Many Chinese cities may develop into this over the next decade or so. For example, Hangzhou. This recent unrest took place in downtown LA, the so-called city center. When people hear that, they might start imagining the riots are like breaking out in front of the Forbidden City in Beijing, and immediately start getting popcorn ready for the show. In fact, LA's downtown has been largely abandoned for years. Most of the residents and the business have already moved out, and people generally have no reason to go there at all. It's mostly filled with homeless people, and petty crimes happen almost every day. The last few times I was there for some errands, and even supermarket cashiers were wearing bulletproof vests, and the door was guarded with firearms. That area was already a war zone before. To be honest, if it weren't for TikTok, I probably wouldn't even know what happened. On the worst day of the unrest, I was hanging out with friends in Chinatown, right next to downtown. We were drinking tea for the entire morning, and it was a perfect, peaceful day. I had no idea large-scale protests were unfolding just a few blocks away. So what caused this incident? A few days ago, immigration authorities launched a large-scale crackdown on undocumented immigrants in LA, especially at Home Depot, where they arrested a large number of Latino immigrants. Home Depot is a major home improvement store in the US, similar to those in China. Many immigrants would hang out outside the stores with tools, hoping to be hired for a day job, same way our uncles wait at intersections in China for temp jobs. These kinds of raids were happening across the US over the past few months, but things escalated in LA. California is a stronghold of pro-immigration sentiment, and the reaction was particularly intense. On one hand, many Latino immigrants in California have their families here, relatives, cousins, even children born in the US and already perhaps in college. California has around 16 million population of Latino descent out of a total population of 38 million. So imagine your cousin or uncle who's been living and working here suddenly got detained and deported. Obviously, you'll be upset. On the other hand, it's how some Americans perceive this. Aside from Native Americans, this country is considered a nation of immigrants. First came the Vikings, then the English, French, Italians, and later immigrants from all over the place. Everyone is from somewhere else going back a few generations. So who really had the authority to call someone an illegal immigrant? Did the Pilgrims on the Mayflower get green cards before they landed in Massachusetts? That's why some feel this kind of mass arrest and deportation is inhumane. Not to mention, California was once part of Mexico. After the Mexico-American War in 1848, it was ceded to the U.S., along with Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and several other states. The full name of Los Angeles, El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora de Los Angeles del Rio de Pociancula, which means the town of Our Lady, the Queen of Angels on the Pociancula River. A full-on Latin name. San Francisco and San Diego apparently speak for themselves. There's also an economic factor. Many immigrants are the de facto backbone of California's labor force. For example, in the restaurant business, the most hardworking kitchen staff, washing dishes, mopping the floor, doing things that nobody else wants to do, are often immigrants. Labor costs will likely skyrocket if they leave. A meal in LA now costs around $15, around 109 RMB, while 10 years ago it was just 7 or 8. I can't imagine what would happen if it keeps getting more expensive. Now many in China are asking, is the economy affected by all this chaos? From what I see so far, not much. Looking at the short term, local stores and supermarkets are still doing pretty well, not much affected by e-commerce as in China. In the long term, the US has been around for 249 years, longer than most Chinese dynasties. And since 1776, it has always been somewhat chaotic and full of disputes. People argue, complain, protest, and get on with their lives. I hope everyone stays safe.